Welcome to The Kingstonian, a podcast that profiles individuals who are passionate about what they do for a living, about what organization they belong to, or simply passionate about the community they are a part of. Hello there, and welcome. My name is Dave Cunningham. We are speaking with an individual passionate about tourism in this city. He has had the same position with the same employer in the same industry for almost 30 years. Our guest is Hugh Mackenzie, General Manager of the Kingston Destination Group. Hugh, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dave.
We are going to talk about your career in tourism, talk about the business you work for now, and talk about tourism in general and the role it plays in the city. Let's talk about how you got into this business. From what I have read in various sources, that you've been involved in this business for almost 40 years.
Left high school in Toronto, grew up in downtown Toronto, hitchhiked out west, took up photography with my buddy that I hitchhiked out with, and I spent a couple of years away from school, exploring the world, 7 months in France, things that you should do when you're young and rudderless, I guess, is I think you could describe it. Came back, started at the University of Ottawa, and with my renewed interest in photography, thought I would get involved taking pictures for the school newspaper, The Fulcrum. My first assignment was a pic that I took of engineering students having their looking as if they were out for a class picture, while on the balcony were all of the upper year students with large pails of water. I caught a picture just before the water hit them. How does this relate to tourism and my career?
I know you'll tell me.
I know you. I know I've got your curiosity going. So I came back to the Fulcrum office, was asked to process the Triax black and white film, and I said, I've never developed film before. Had to be shown how to do that, metal reels in the darkroom, came out with all the bleach blotches, but the frame that was intact was the classic picture, the water just about to reach their heads. That picture appeared in the Ottawa Citizen on the Saturday full page 11 by 14. It was around the world on wire services by Monday. My mother said, "Oh, look, somebody named CP Photo is at the same took the same similar shot that Hugh did." It then won Canadian Press Photo of the Month, Canadian Press Photo of the Year for 1978, and a National Newspaper Award for Feature Photography, the Canadian Pulitzer Prize for Photography.
Really?
Right. It also appeared in Life magazine. Life magazine had just reopened after a 10-year hiatus in the November 78 edition, just one more inside back cover. Anyway, I was now an award-winning famous photographer.
So when you eventually got into tourism as a business, working for Wilderness Tours, what was it about that kind of business that you liked?
I'd spent all my summers as a kid on lakes at the cottage. So Wilderness Tours was perfect. Kayaking, rafting, being on the water in the summertime was great. And I loved the business aspect of what I did. And when I returned the next summer, I ran their photo side of their business and turned it into a $250,000 a year or $250,000 a summer business, and did all of the investing in the processes and the equipment and all those aspects. When I'd finished with the University of Ottawa, in a totally unrelated discipline, I went and I was hired full-time, first as their marketing manager and then promotions and eventually the general manager at WT. So in any case, my now wife, who was a woman I dated in high school for 6 months before she dumped me in grade 11, sort of invited herself up to WT for a weekend, and as I say, arrived with 3 weeks worth of luggage and never left. We were married in '87. Paula Nichols is her name. and our first child together in '89 at Wilderness Tours. So it was a context now that it's as opposed to a singles life at WT, it's now a married and with a fair degree of responsibility, and now a child. We had moved to Renfrew. But we were looking at, we're both from downtown Toronto. We're out of Foresters Falls, population 174, now into Renfrew, population 7,500. But ideally, Ottawa or Kingston, in our minds, would be a great place to live. My brother had gone to Queens. Other than that, I really didn't know anything else about Kingston. And Ottawa, of course, I'd lived there through university for a while and had some good connections. Almost got a job at the NCC in 1990. But then Paula, who was Economic Development Officer for the County of Renfrew, first of all in tourism, then in economic development, business development, commercial development, she was sort of recruited. CJAI, if you remember CJAI, which was the Economic Development Commission before KEDCO, and funded by the four municipalities before amalgamation, was taking over tourism from the Chamber of Commerce. And of course, you were involved in the Chamber of Commerce, so you would know those days. Dave Cash sat on a regional economic development committee with Paula and informed her about the position that was coming available, tourism development officer at CJAI. And she applied, and Dave said, "Well, what does your husband do?" And at that point, I was looking, well, if Paula got the job in Kingston, great. I'd move to town, be a house husband, and see where my career would take me. However, Dave's question about, well, what does your husband do? Well, he's GM at this tourist operation and so on. Dave said, well, there's an opening at the Island Queen, the Kingston Island Boat Lines, for GM. So it was just remarkable. I applied for the position. Paul and I drove to Kingston from Renfrew. We had interviews on the same day. Of course, we arranged it that way. She got her call at 7:30 in the morning in March of '91, and I got mine at 2:30 in the afternoon that same day. Both offered positions. We are to move to Kingston. So, certain amount of serendipity in that, both getting jobs.
That's crazy.
And our offices were 2 blocks apart, downtown Kingston.
Could not have planned it any better.
No,
it's... So you're in Kingston now, and you're working for the boat lines.
Yes.
And you have been there and been here working in this particular job since 91.
Since 91, and it's now 2019. 28 years without a single promotion. Well, the business when I arrived was 2 vessels, the Island Princess and the Island Queen. That first winter, we sold the Princess and acquired the Island Belle. And then in 98, we had the opportunity to acquire Le Bateau Mouche, which was operating in Quebec City, and that's the Island Star. So we brought that in for the 98 season. That really transformed our business. We were a tourism sightseeing operation with some culinary aspects. We had dinner cruises and the like on the Island Queen, but the Island Star really got us focused on the culinary side of the business, being a restaurant on the water. And that really transformed our competencies and expanded our employment and led to a variety of other avenues.
At some particular point, you decided to get into the tour trolley business, touring the city. And at one particular point, you mentioned my affiliation with the Chamber years ago, and the Chamber used to operate a single trolley around town. And in what year did your company take over the trolleys?
Well, the history is the Confederation Tour Trolley, and anybody who calls our business the Tour Trolley, I know they're an old Kingstonian because we changed the name to Kingston Trolley when we acquired in 2002 2012. So Paula and I were on our 25th anniversary trip in Europe. We were in Portugal, and I got an email from the CEO of the chamber saying they're looking for expressions of interest in acquiring the Confederation tour trolley, which at that point, yes, was one trolley bus. But the potential synergies that I saw between operating the cruises, Thousand Islands cruises, and the trolley, which is the linkages to all of the attractions in Kingston, was phenomenal. I know that I communicated with John Wright, who's the owner of our company, numerous times over that trip in Portugal, and we took trolley rides, and we bought city passes in Lisbon and Portugal, in Porto, which we had bought in advance in any case. Mm-hmm. But now it really showed to me what the vision could be for Kingston in the concept of having the trolley with the cruises and linking together all of the attractions. So our first season of operation was 2013. The chamber had one trolley. We quickly realized that you can't run a hop-on, hop-off service, even though the chamber had tried a couple of times, without multiple vehicles. So we acquired a couple of trolleys from Savannah, Georgia, which is the trolley capital of the world, literally, and operated our first season with a full hop-on, hop-off service. So, I've been in tourism nominally since 1980. It hit me like a ton of bricks that it's not about us. If we're operating the boat line, or if I'm sitting there at Fort Henry, or if I'm an attraction in town, people do not set a destination solely on the basis of one thing to do. The concept that the destination is greater than the sum of its parts was one of the key things I learned from this, and this has developed our business strategy going forward. So once we acquired the trolleys, and as you said, we expanded. We've got retail and now walking tours, and of course our culinary operations and so on. I think we have 9 or 10 different brands that we maintain. It was always awkward going to business meetings and introducing myself as, yes, I'm Kingston Thousand Islands Cruises, Kingston Trolley Tours, Waterfront Gifts and Apparel, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So we renamed or rebranded the business umbrella as Kingston Destination Group.
Okay. I wanted to spend some time, Hugh, and talk about the importance of tourism in general. We've talked a little bit about that before the song, but how important is tourism to the city of Kingston?
It's really hard to measure in the sense that one hears the economic impact of $800 million to $1 billion a year, and if those are a variety of metrics that I'm sure the government bureaucrats like to tout and those type of things. But we look at it, or I look at it, as how this community has evolved. So we arrived in 1991. It's a very different community now than it was back then. It has, I think tourism has really impacted the quality of life for the residents of Kingston. We've got a very vibrant downtown that has benefited by the presence of Queens and RMC, by I think a very progressive city approach. The amount of investments that have been made into our downtown by not just business people, but the city itself, the Grand Theater, I keep wanting to call it the K-Rock Center, but the
Leon Center,
the Leon Center, Market Square,
Isabel Bader Center,
which is Queens, and that type of thing. I mean, this is a massive amount of investment. The element that is, now Kingston boasts the most number of restaurants per capita in Canada. So I walk from home down Princess Street. Every year I do a count of how many food and beverage places there are down Princess Street, and it's phenomenal. Very low vacancy rate. So all of those elements are helped by tourism and Kingston being a very attractive place to visit. When I describe Kingston particularly to international markets, I say it's iconic Canada. It has the foundations of our nation's history with the development of the 1840s and First Capital and so on with the UNESCO World Heritage Site and that type of thing. It has the nature that's so representative of Canada with the lakes, the islands, the rivers, all that you can see from right across from City Hall. And it has that urban vibe, a walkable downtown that is very Canadian. It's an authentic Canadian experience in a way that Toronto, Montreal is hard to encapsulate the same way.
Now, you are a Kingstonian, but your business involves you attracting people from outside the city to come and visit and stay and look around town. Mm-hmm. So when you are talking about the kinds of things that you would like to see changed in the city as we grow, in the back of your mind, are you focused on the people already here or the people that you hope to attract to the city?
Both. I mean, I have been participating in a exercise with Tourism Kingston and the city called the Integrated Destination Strategy. It's a study that's going to be coming out in the next month or two. And my emphasis in that development of a strategy for tourism is that tourism development has to remain true to the authenticity of Kingston. For instance, I don't believe we should put a Ferris wheel on the waterfront because it would be a great tourist attraction. I believe we need to continue to develop the culture, the vibrancy, the infrastructure, the walkability, the entertainment, the culinary of downtown and the region. Frontenac County is another example. The Cataraqui Trail is a amazing investment that the county and the city have done that improves the quality of life for residents. And I think that is what makes Kingston an attractive location. When you come to Kingston, it's not Niagara Falls. It's not a tourist trap. It's not a something that's false or veneer or whatever. It is real. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big supporter of the city's focus on intensification. I think downtown intensification, more residents not having cars, walking to work, bicycling to work. I bicycle to work all winter whenever I can, or I walk, or what have you, will contribute tremendously for the development of our city, of our community, for residents and for visitors alike, because it makes it more interesting and real for visitors.
I asked this question of the mayor when I sat down and had a chat with him. That's the business of those of us who live at the West End, who typically do not come downtown because of the whole parking issue. And that's because we have a vehicle that takes us from the West End to the downtown. And you're talking about people who are moving to the downtown and doing away with their vehicles, essentially. But how do you attract people to the downtown when they don't want to come downtown because there's no place to park?
Well, the parking is a misnomer.
Yeah, it's something in the back of the mind.
Yeah, I mean, I have close proximity to this because Paula was parking manager at the city of Kingston. And I know because we counsel people every day in the summer season where to park. And we always recommend the Hanson or the Jury lots or whatever, the city lots. They're ridiculously cheap. We tell people it's $1.50 an hour. People coming from Toronto go, "What? Are you serious?" And they're never full. But the other thing is that Kingston has an excellent transit system. People don't realize this, but Kingston has one of the highest rates of transit use or whatever for a city its size in Canada. There are now express routes, so we have a variety of people that work here that live in the West End and come down by express transit. I'm really thrilled, and I've been agitating for the third crossing, and because it will help to get traffic out of downtown. It is ridiculous that in front of the iconic City Hall there is a traffic jam every single day of single passenger vehicles getting across the causeway, commuters that have to go through downtown because there's no other way to go east to west in Kingston. So it was one of the things that I really supported the mayor, and actually he hadn't thought of that tact, that it's a commuter nightmare, congesting our main tourism area with vehicles. So I think there's a lot of things that are leading to eventually, I see a pedestrian-only area, say right around City Hall. I mean, I'm going to say in self-interest that I think for reasonable reasons that you'd want to have the trolley in a lane that would work through that, but no vehicles. Certainly in the summer season. The Princess Street Promenade is a prime example. Those are really well attended events when we have Princess closed to pedestrians. And that trend is happening across the world, and I hope Kingston will help lead that. As far as our West End, I did want to also bring up that one of the things that we did when we got the trolley and cooperation with all of the attractions, and we developed the K-Pass, which is this 24, 48, or 72-hour all attractions pass that people can purchase when they're coming to visit the Kingston, like we did in Lisbon or Porto. We have a Kingston Residence Pass, and this is something we started the very first year we had the trolley, and that is for the cost of one cruise, one visit to the fort, and one trolley ride. Kingston residents can have unlimited use of as many cruises, as many visits to all the museums as they wish, and unlimited use of the trolley. And it's a way to get residents engaged in our tourism attractions. And the logic is, of course, 50% of people staying overnight in Kingston are visiting with friends and family, and we want those people, our local residents, to be ambassadors, if you wish, but to be knowledgeable and cognizant of the opportunities that are available for visitors.
And I think, too, the Princess Promenade, you mentioned, an event that takes place a couple of times of the year. It's an opportunity for West Enders to get into town to see what's going on downtown, because if you're not coming downtown because you think there is no parking, then you have to have something that brings you downtown so that you can update yourself on what really is going on downtown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have run out of time.
You're joking.
I know. Time just flies by, and we'll have to get together again to expand on some of these topics. But I appreciate the time you've given us today, and all the best.
Thanks so much.
Theme music for the program is Stasis Oasis, a tune written and performed by Kingston musician Tim Aylesworth. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions about any of our episodes, please send a note to the Kingstonian Podcast Facebook page. This is Dave Cunningham from Kingston, Ontario. Thank you for listening. Until next time.